April 14, 1912. The night the ocean turned silent. In our history, the Titanic was sailing through calm, moonless waters, her engines humming, her passengers sleeping soundly. The most luxurious ship ever built. A floating world of elegance, pride, and promise. At 11:40 p.m., a cry from the crow's nest broke the calm. Iceberg, right ahead. But it was too late. Steel met ice, and in less than 3 hours, over 1,500 souls vanished beneath the freezing Atlantic. It became more than a tragedy, it was a wound in the heart of modern confidence. Proof that even the greatest of man's creations could sink. But what if that never happened? What if the lookout had seen the iceberg, just 1 minute earlier? What if the Titanic never sank? In this timeline, the sea gives her mercy. The lookout spots the dark shape against the stars just in time. The bell rings, 3 desperate clangs. On the bridge, First Officer Murdoch yells, "Hard to starboard." The great ship groans, steel straining under the turn. Water sprays across the bow as the Titanic glides past the iceberg, missing it by meters. The passengers barely wake. A few feel a strange shudder, but nothing more. By morning, whispers spread. Then the news. The Titanic, the unsinkable ship, had cheated fate. When she docks in New York, thousands gather at the pier. Confetti falls, horns blare, and the newspapers call it the miracle at sea. The captain, once a quiet man, becomes a global hero. White Star Line's name shines brighter than ever. The world takes the wrong lesson. Instead of humility, they find proof of invincibility. If man can tame even death, then perhaps there are no limits at all. Investors pour money into shipbuilding like never before. Designers push boundaries, faster engines, taller decks, richer cabins. Germany launches its own Atlantic marvel, the Kaiser Wilhelm II. America follows with the Columbia Star, the first ocean liner built almost entirely of reinforced steel. The Titanic becomes a global symbol of progress. She sails the Atlantic again and again, carrying politicians, movie stars, and millionaires. Each voyage feels like a victory lap, a statement that the modern world belongs to human genius. The year is 1913. The Titanic glides once again across the Atlantic, her hull gleaming like a floating palace. Every voyage sells out. Politicians, inventors, and celebrities dine under chandeliers that glitter like captured stars. To the world, she isn't just a ship, she's proof. Proof that human brilliance can outwit nature. Proof that the modern world has no limits. The story of her survival spreads far beyond Britain. In Berlin, engineers raise champagne glasses, promising to build something even greater. In New York, industrialists invest in faster, larger, more luxurious liners. And in Paris, artists and writers toast to the age of the unsinkable man. It's an age drunk on triumph. But pride has a price. White Star Line's rivals, desperate to outshine Titanic, begin cutting corners. Steel gets thinner, rivets cheaper. Deadlines shorter. The public doesn't care, they want spectacle, not safety. Every voyage is now a show of power, a race for headlines. Soon, the world's oceans fill with giants, the Kaiser Wilhelm II, the Columbia Star, the Oceanic Queen. Each ship taller, faster, and more ambitious than the last. Yet, as shipyards roar and governments boast, a darker current moves beneath the surface. The Titanic's survival convinces empires that fate is on their side, that they can do the impossible not only at sea, but in everything. And across Europe, leaders whisper about another kind of race. Not for luxury, but for dominance. April 1914. The Titanic prepares for her grandest voyage yet, a global exhibition of peace and progress. On board are scientists, journalists, and diplomats. Among them, a German ambassador, a French inventor, and a young Austrian artist named Adolf, sketching the ship's interior with quiet fascination. But as the Titanic sails under flags of friendship, the world beyond her decks trembles. Assassination plots stir in the Balkans. Empires shadow each other with suspicion. And newspapers, once filled with tales of ocean triumphs, now whisper about war. The unsinkable dream is spreading, from the Atlantic to the battlefield. When the Titanic docks again in New York that June, the world still believes it's unstoppable. No one knows that within weeks, gunfire will echo through Europe, and a single bullet will drag millions into chaos. In our real history, the Titanic's sinking humbled the world. It reminded humanity of its limits just before the Great War began. But in this timeline, that lesson never came. The ocean never warned them. And so, when the storm of 1914 arrives, no one believes it can sink them. The Titanic sails again that summer, her decks bright, her passengers blissfully unaware. Somewhere below, the wireless operator tunes his radio to faint signals crackling through the static, fragments of news from Sarajevo, whispers of mobilization. He shrugs it off, thinking, it's Europe's problem. But history, like the sea, has a way of finding everyone. The dream that refused to sink, is about to drag the world down with it. The summer of 1914 burns bright, and then, suddenly, it burns out. A gunshot in Sarajevo ripples across Europe like a thunderclap over calm seas. And within weeks, the great powers that once raced to build ocean liners are now racing to build dreadnoughts. But in this alternate world, the Titanic still sails. And that changes everything. The ship, once a floating symbol of peace and progress, now becomes a pawn in war. The British government seizes her, repainting her majestic white hull in grey steel tones. She is reborn as HMS Titanic, a troop carrier and hospital ship, a vessel not of luxury, but of survival. Crowds watch from the docks as soldiers wave goodbye beneath her towering funnels. Some whisper that the ship cannot sink, that the name, Titanic, is a good omen. They call her, the lucky ship. And luck, it seems, follows her, for a time. She crosses the Atlantic again and again, carrying soldiers to the front and the wounded home. U-boats prowl beneath her, but somehow she always slips through. Rumors spread among sailors that she's invisible to torpedoes, protected by fate itself. The myth grows with every voyage. And while she endures, so does Britain's faith in victory. But pride, once again, becomes poison. If Titanic is unsinkable, then so too must be the Empire. Commanders begin pushing beyond reason, launching reckless assaults, ignoring caution, believing luck alone will carry them through. Across the Channel, Germany takes notice. Their admirals mock the unsinkable English toy, but deep down, they are fascinated. They study her blueprints, stolen through espionage, and begin crafting a new generation of armored transports, superliners of war. Soon, the Atlantic turns into a chessboard of giants. Titanic and her German counterpart, the Valkyrie, both colossal, both engines of pride and propaganda. Each crossing of the sea becomes a silent duel, not of cannons, but of endurance. Then, in 1916, fate finally calls the bluff. A British convoy, with Titanic at its heart, sails through the icy North Atlantic. Fog thickens. The night grows restless. Beneath the waves, German U-boats move in formation, a pack of steel predators. The Titanic's captain, now a war veteran, feels it, the same chill that haunted him 2 years before the real disaster that never happened. But he dismisses it. She's unsinkable, he mutters. At 2:17 a.m., a torpedo strikes her port side. The explosion rocks the decks, men scream, lights flicker, chaos erupts. But unlike 1912, this Titanic is armored. She groans, tilts slightly, and steadies. Damage control crews rush below. Bulkheads hold. Engines roar back to life. The ship limps forward, fire trailing from her hull, but she does not sink. When dawn breaks, she is still afloat, wounded, but defiant. And that's when she earns her new name among the troops. The ship that cheated death twice. The incident makes headlines across the world. Britain claims it as proof of destiny. Posters show the Titanic sailing through smoke and fire, the words, "If she cannot fall, neither shall we." But the Germans take a different lesson. They see the future, a war not of courage, but of machines that refuse to die. They double down on steel, oil, and automation. In this timeline, the seeds of mechanized warfare bloom far earlier. The Titanic's survival doesn't just save lives, it accelerates an age of destruction. And as the war rages on, one question begins to haunt the men who built her. How many times can you cheat death before it comes collecting? The year is 1919. The guns of the Great War have fallen silent. Europe is exhausted. Cities lie in ruins. Families mourn the dead. Governments teeter on the edge of collapse. But amid this destruction, one symbol of defiance sails on, the Titanic. No longer a mere ship, she has become a living emblem of Britain's pride, a floating reminder that some things cannot be broken. The world looks at her and wonders, if she survived fire, ice, and torpedoes, could the empire itself endure? Titanic's second maiden voyage after the war is unlike any other. Dignitaries, kings, and presidents line the decks. Cameras flash. Headlines proclaim, "The ship that conquered death now leads peace." Britain uses her presence as leverage. Naval treaties, reparations, and post-war negotiations are all influenced by the Titanic's myth. When the Prime Minister steps aboard, he doesn't just wave, he signals strength, resilience, and the impossible made real. Other nations respond. Germany rebuilds its fleet faster, fearing that the Titanic sets a new standard of national power. France races to launch its own line of unsinkable vessels. America, fueled by industrial might and ambition, begins to dominate the shipping lanes with liners twice the size of any European counterpart. In this timeline, the oceans themselves become a stage for empire, prestige, and diplomacy. The Titanic is the crown jewel. Every journey is a statement: we endure. We dominate. We survive. But even legends have limits. On board, whispers circulate about passengers whose lives were spared not once, but twice, a handful of men who claim they foresaw events, who speak in cryptic warnings. Some dismiss them as lunatics. Others grow uneasy. Every voyage is celebrated, but a shadow of hubris hangs over the decks. For while the Titanic remains unsinkable, the world she sails through is growing more fragile. Beneath the celebration lies tension. Nations cling to the idea that technology, steel, and bravado can protect them from fate. Trade routes are contested. Naval skirmishes erupt in the Caribbean and North Atlantic. The Titanic, in all her glory, becomes both a beacon of hope and a target of envy. Meanwhile, the press sensationalizes her legend. Magazines print tales of near disasters, heroic crews, and miraculous survivals. The ship's myth spreads faster than the war's memory fades. Children draw her in classrooms. Artists paint her battles with waves and storms. And everywhere, governments ask themselves, if Titanic cannot fall, can the world? Yet danger stirs silently beneath the ocean and in the corridors of power. The ship that once defied death now inspires empires to gamble with theirs. Every crossing strengthens pride, every victory against the sea fuels ambition, and every headline fans the flames of international rivalry. By 1921, the Titanic is more than a vessel, she is a statement to the world. She carries not just passengers, but a philosophy: survival at any cost, glory above caution, legend over reason. And somewhere, in Berlin, Paris, and Washington, leaders whisper the same thought. If Titanic can cheat death twice, what could humanity itself survive? The year is 1925. 13 years have passed since Titanic first cheated death. She sails again, bigger, brighter, more opulent than ever. Her decks glitter under chandeliers, the hull gleams like polished steel, and her legend is now larger than any empire. This is not merely a voyage across the Atlantic. It is a statement. The world watches, and every newspaper hails her as the unstoppable ship. Aboard, Europe's elite toast to peace and progress. Princes, industrial magnates, and daring aviators mingle with artists and adventurers. The ship carries more than people, she carries pride, ambition, and the arrogance of a world that believes it can survive anything. But the Atlantic has changed. The oceans are no longer empty playgrounds for luxury liners. Submarines patrol the deep. Rival nations' fleets are faster, deadlier, and more cunning. Titanic's myth has spurred naval innovation, and now, she faces the unintended consequences of her survival. On the fourth night of the voyage, fog rolls in thick, swallowing the horizon. The captain squints, relying on experience, intuition, and the legendary luck that has carried her so far. But something feels different. A chill runs down the spine of the crew. Even the officers whisper about fate. Suddenly, a shadow appears on the radar, a fleet of German warships, built to challenge her legend. Not just any ships, but ones designed after the Titanic herself, massive, steel behemoths built for dominance and intimidation. The world holds its breath. 2 generations of pride, ambition, and technological marvels now face each other. Every empire has invested its hope, wealth, and reputation in these fleets. The Titanic maneuvers gracefully, engines roaring, as the fog presses in. Missiles are still decades away, but torpedoes lurk beneath the waves. Every deck is alive with tension, passengers sense something monumental is about to unfold. The Titanic has survived ice, fire, and war. She has outrun fate itself. But this test is different. The enemy is not nature. The enemy is the world her survival has helped shape. Onlookers in New York, London, and Berlin follow radio broadcasts of her journey. For the first time, the myth that sustained nations trembles. A single miscalculation could undo everything. And as the Titanic cuts through the fog, a faint signal crackles through her wireless. Target approaching, repeat, target approaching. The message is unclear, the source unknown. But the crew knows one thing, this could be the end. The Atlantic, once a highway of triumph, has become a stage of destiny. The Titanic's final voyage begins, and history may finally catch up to the ship that refused to sink. The ship that conquered death twice now faces a force even legend cannot guarantee against. And somewhere in the deep, unseen by mortal eyes, a shadow waits, ready to test whether humanity's greatest symbol can survive the consequences of its own pride.